Hey everybody, Tim from Alpha Wolf Trading coming at you with another CEO interview. Very exciting company actually that I just met about a week ago, but I've been following this whole industry for quite a while. It's the drone industry, and Jeff Thompson is from RedCat. And after meeting with Jeff, it was clear to me that one of the things that has been lacking in my mind is a clear leader in the drone space. And looking at, after meeting with Jeff and going through what he's got going on, definitely an interesting story. And I wanted to get Jeff as soon as possible. Jeff, thank you so much for coming in to do the interview.
Thanks for having me.
All right, so listen, what I'd like to do is I'd like to maybe have you give us a little bit of background on yourself, not necessarily all your successes and wins, but maybe some of your failures too, and how you got here and what you see, and then we can get into RedCat and what you see as maybe the catalyst for the next 6 to 12 months and the overall vision for the company.
Sure. I'll be brief on my background. Went to school for engineering. Founded my first company right out of college. Didn't know what the hell I was doing. Somehow managed to get out of that one hole and ended up being bought by a large broadcasting company that eventually went public. Went from there to start another company that was in telecommunications and brought that one public in 2007, right before the crash. Got a little lucky there, had a bunch of money in the bank, did a bunch of acquisitions, learned how to really run a business on the NASDAQ. Met our current CFO during that process. He's still with me. He's semi-retired until I started this company, and I was able to get him off the bench again. So we have a team that knows the capital markets very well for a microcap company. The telecommunications industry is very boring. I was asked to go do some due diligence on a drone company down in Sarasota. I went and did the due diligence. I still was working at my NASDAQ company, had a great gig, and they asked me to be CEO. I was like, no, I got a great gig. I'm cool. But the seed was planted, and I couldn't stop thinking about drones. And I also saw that the drone industry had a lot of great small entrepreneurial companies that were going to help create the drone industry, technologists, anything from, the platforms they're building, the websites to get products to people. Dr. Evans is right next to me here. You guys can't see him, but he ran Fat Shark, which is one of the best goggle companies in the world for drones. So I just saw this splintered industry, and I thought, you know what, I have public expertise. Let's get a public vehicle again, and let's put together some of the best technology that we think makes sense, get some of the best people on the team. And that's exactly what we did with RedCat. We have RedCat Holdings, and we've acquired 4 great companies. We're still looking at other acquisitions, but we got it onto the NASDAQ last April, which was horrible. It's like, I'll never do an uplisting again. It was an uplisting. Those things are horrible. So my advice, don't do an uplisting, do a straight IPO. The rules have changed dramatically. So we raised $76 million. As you heard, if you listened to our conference call last night, we still have 56 of it. We have about, I think it's 14 million on our balance sheet for chipsets that we mentioned. So we're in a really good financial position, but more importantly than that, we've spent the last year, fixing up all the companies and kind of getting them where the overlap is, and teaching them about budgets. We didn't really get any salespeople from all these acquisitions, typical of tech companies. We've built an enterprise sales team. Jeff Hitchcock, who came from Aero Environment's been selling drones to governments for 10 plus, maybe 15 plus years, hundreds of millions of drones. He's grabbed a great team and brought them over to us. So we have a we now have a great enterprise sales team, which we didn't have a year ago. We have Teal Drones, we have Fat Shark, Rotor Riot, Skypersonic. Again, we took Dr. Evans and out of the Fat Shark CEO role, put him in the holding company COO role, and he's probably exhausted from all the traveling he's been doing to go meet with these companies and get them all tuned up. But it is, I feel like all the companies, we've broken them into the consumer divisions, which is Fat Shark and Rotor Riot, and now the commercial side, which is a Skypersonic inspection drone, and the Teal, which is most of the dollars looks like it's going to be coming from the DoD in the short term. But that is kind of the story and how we got here. And, it's pretty exciting where we're going to be going from here. The demand for drones, as I mentioned on our quarterly call last night, is just skyrocketed.
Right. So with what we've got going on over in Russia and Ukraine, everybody's trying to get, you even hear it on CNBC, talk about drones and getting drones over. I think I heard there was just a shipment that went out to Ukraine with that had 100 drones in it, right?
Yeah, that was the Switchblade from AVAV. They did 800 million of certain weapons or protection. I don't know what you want to call them because everyone's so concerned about the offense or defense word. But anyway, yeah, I think, they need drones, all sorts of, there's different classes of drones. Ours are for short range reconnaissance, tell you what's over the next hill, what's around the corner. What's great about the Teal Golden Eagle, it also has thermal capabilities. So they were first trying to use consumer drones, and then found out that those could actually possibly be dangerous because they're made in China and they could find out where the locations are. So everyone's switching away from any Chinese-made drones, and we believe that any non-Chinese-made drone that's being made right now is going to be bought. Ukraine has just pushed up the envelope, and everyone's budgets has just increased dramatically. Even Germany's doubling their defense budget, and our team was over in Europe on a pre-planned trip, and that trip got extended because the war broke out in the middle of it. And what we're seeing since last week is just incredible demand. Multiple countries, multiple departments in each country. Everyone's figuring out a way how to get as many drones into Ukraine as quickly as possible. The good news is that we're already approved by the Department of Defense here in the US. So other countries accept that approval, so we don't have to go through a long process of approval to sell our drones to these countries.
So, and you also had a pretty big news announcement on, I think it was Monday, right?
Yeah, that's everyone's been waiting for that news, but it's almost taking a back seat, even though it's a very significant accomplishment for the Teal team. It's called SRR, Short Range Reconnaissance Tranche 2. There's 3 tranches to this program for the Army. The goal is to put a drone in every rucksack of every soldier. So there's been a lot of kind of like misinformation about the tranches and how they work. There's 3 tranches. In each tranche, there's a prototype contract, and then there's a production contract. In tranche 1, which Teal also was awarded a couple of years ago now, there was 5 companies that were awarded the tranche 1 prototype contracts, and there was 1 tranche 1 production contract that ended up being $100 million. It was delayed for 2 years, the production contract, for COVID. So it wasn't announced until February. So that put complete confusion, it being just announced last month, into the market, thinking this was part of tranche 2. But that is not from tranche 2. So, but it was a pleasant surprise for us because we thought that tranche 1 was going to be much smaller. So these are real significant contracts with the Army, and we'll be bidding on tranche 2. The good news is tranche 2, they only down selected out of 30 plus people that demoed their birds in September 14th. They only selected 2, and it's us and one other company. So we think we're well positioned for the Tranche 2 production contract.
Yeah, I read the transcript. I think your quote was, we got about a 50-50 chance.
Yeah, I was being a little cute with that, because who knows, there could be other people might be allowed to bid in that process still, but they typically, the way they did it last time, they gave it to the one of five that won the prototype contracts that they were working closely with throughout that whole year before they awarded it. So the prototype contract is basically the Army saying, here's the features that we want for our drone. So you work with them and you have milestone meetings. So as you're working with them, you've got a huge advantage because every few months they're meeting and saying, yeah, you've met our milestones. So when that production contract is there, they know the company very well, just like they knew the last company very well. They got the Tranche 1 production contract. And then there's Tranche 3, which is supposed to be even larger than Tranche 1 and 2. So we continue to make progress. What's interesting about the Golden Eagle is that it's been designed for the Department of Defense, the Army, and first responders. I mean, it's thermal. It has thermal capability. It's rugged. The arms, which comes from George Matus, the founder's background, he used to race drones. And when you race drones, you break arms. So he made our drone, the arms are replaceable. So if you have a foldable rucksackable, I don't even know if that's a word, but we might have just made it up, drone, and you're out in the field and your drone breaks and you break off an arm, you take your spare kit, you put another arm on, and your bird's back in the air. Our competitors' drones look a little consumerish and toyish, and they're more plasticky than ours. So we think we have a very robust drone that's made. It's not a consumer drone that's being converted to a DoD drone. It's made to do these things with the military. So we think that gives us also another strong advantage over the competitors. And then the largest advantage we think we have is we really got ahead on our production. We've gotten ahead with building a large production facility to manufacture these drones. You doubled
the capacity of the current manufacturing facility you have, right?
Yeah. So the public doesn't always have the information that we have. So we basically just let the public know that we doubled the size of our production capability last fall. But they didn't know that, we've already been down selected by the Army. It didn't come out until this week. We saw huge demand starting to come across as our biz dev teams out there in the markets. So, we have a lot more, capability to see the future of the drone industry. So we decided to take the space that's right next to us. It's exactly the same size as the space we have. So we doubled the space. It also allows us to do some indoor flying, which is kind of crucial when it's really snowy and crappy in Salt Lake City. We've made some really progress on the production capability. And now we have the last few meetings that we've had is how do we double, triple, quadruple production? Is it possible? And how do we do it? So we've got game plans. If we get a crazy order from all this activity with the Ukraine, I've never seen so many inbound inquiries in a product I've sold ever. And I've been in business since '94. Demand is always your concern. And I don't want to jinx ourselves, but I'm not concerned with demand right now. But as we stated in the call last night, every drone that gets made in the US right now is going to be sold. So our goal is to get this factory up and scaled and producing as many Golden Eagles as we can.
And you've positioned yourself well because you guys you kind of bulked up on chips, right?
Yeah, and usually I take the credit for that, but because the guy that did it is in the same room with me, I can't take the credit for him. I can't steal his thunder, but yeah, he pushed us in the board pretty hard to get our ass in gear and get as many chips in the production in our supply chain as possible. He has a lot of expertise in building high numbers of units in the goggle and VR space. So his expertise has been key in this whole event. But yeah, we are so well positioned from all of those early moves.
Right. No, I mean that, especially with the supply chain issues, which are potentially going to get worse because of what's going on with Ukraine. I mean, there's a lot of industries that are being impacted by the stuff that's going on in Ukraine. I talked to an oil guy yesterday that was telling me that the pipe for drilling, it comes from Ukraine. So
Yeah,
there's a lot of scary stuff going on, man.
Yeah, we're just going to keep sending them stuff. Maybe they'll win. Who knows?
Right. So, all right. So I think the other thing that really stood out to me when we met last week was, yes, you have the drones, but you also have a flight team, right? That you.
Yeah, having access to Rotor Riot's network of high quality pilots, actually professional pilots. Even the guys at Rotor Riot, they can do things no one else can do. These guys fly drones for a living. There's race people that race drones that can do almost anything with a drone at like 100 miles an hour. Then you've got the freestyle guys, but they have a subscriber list on their YouTube channel, which is kind of a hobbyist / lifestyle drone video that comes out every Monday. Rotor Riot on YouTube, folks. I'm gonna shamelessly plug. They have a lot of good information for people, education, just fun, cool videos. But also they have a lot of sponsored videos. Our competitor DJI, which everyone's going against right now, has actually sponsored a lot of episodes to launch products. So if you want to launch a product, you typically go to Rotor Riot. And then out of those 242,000, I was actually just watching a Rotor Riot video. We found that a significant number of those subscribers to the YouTube channel are also commercial pilots. So whenever we need pilots to do things, we can put out a quick blurb on any of the platforms for Rotor Riot and quickly have 10 or 20 pilots asking to do something.
So one of the examples that you had given me was you won a project in Italy, right? But couldn't go to Italy because of COVID.
Yep.
So you wound up flying the drones from Florida.
Yeah, from Orlando, from the Rotor Riot headquarters. Yep.
Is that inspection still going on?
I don't have the details of that specific inspection, but there's a lot of activity, and it's mostly activity right now. But we expect, and it's kind of our focus is sewers, which I mean, not a sexy business, but it's required to live. It's waste management is not a sexy business, but everyone loves that business. So we're really good at sewer inspections, and remote piloting is very important. And GPS denied capabilities, which Skypersonic has patents for. So we look at the commercial side with Skypersonic as going to capture hopefully a lot of the infrastructure money, because if you're going to repair something, you have to inspect it first. There's according to their own numbers, is 617,000 bridges that need to be fixed, which means they need to be inspected. Drones are much better at inspecting bridges than having people hang off the side of a bridge with a harness a couple 100 feet up, trying to take pictures. We can do it much easier with a drone that's designed to do just that. Same with sewers. No one wants to crawl down a sewer. So but this is going to be not for at least 9 to 12 months. But I mean, we've got so many immediate needs for revenue, and now we've got with SRR. I still look at SRR as still kind of the long-term revenue, but it's significant revenue. And in the meantime, this Ukraine opportunity, which no one likes this war, but if we can get our drones in some soldiers' hands and save some lives, we're happy to do so. So a lot of things bubbling all at different timelines, as I mentioned in the call last night, which will probably fit nicely together on our revenue ramp and look pretty nice.
Right. So we just passed a $1 trillion infrastructure bill, right? And I think that some of the examples you gave me of the surveying or data capturing, which I never thought about, but the cell towers, we talked about that, right? Which typically you've got a guy that's climbing a 150-foot tower to go inspect everything, which you can do with the drone. And then wind farms would be another inspection, right? I mean, because those have to be
Oh
inspected
yeah,
as well.
absolutely. And anything, all of these things where it's high and dangerous, and for instance, cell sites, it's our drone's perfect for cell sites because you actually have that protective bubble. Because if you're trying to get, I crashed my drone last night because it hit some palm trees. Because of a wind gust, if you're doing a drone inspection at a cell site and you get a wind gust, and you basically got these mini flying chainsaws and they cut a cable. You didn't do an inspection, you just made a new thing. You have to fix the cell site now. So we think our drone's really a great drone for that. But more importantly, the remote piloting capability that Skypersonics developed breaks the 1-to-1 ratio of the drone industry, which is a horrible way to run a business with one drone, one pilot. So having a remote pilot, instead of doing 2 or 3 inspections at cell sites now, just having people with drones out there in the field with cars that don't have any skills, you can have a pilot do 20, 25 missions in a day where they used to do 2 to 3. So you've just cut your biggest cost. Your biggest cost in any drone program is always your pilot. So you cut your biggest cost, and then you also brought your productivity way up. So these types of things with remote piloting, the 1 to N or 1 to many drones with a pilot is something we're really focused on, and you're going to be hearing more about in the near future.
Yeah. So you gave me an example. So when you see those light shows, I guess, or drone light shows up in the air, you were telling me that, it's not like those drones all are working together and know that they're next to each other. The one single drone has a pre-programmed flight path, and it has no idea that it's got drones on either side of it, right?
Yeah, actually, one of the analysts who was on the call last night sent me actually one of the coolest ones I've seen so far from these displays they do with all these multiple drones. They call it a swarm, even though it's not a true swarm, but it was actually a Q code that was put up in the sky, and it actually worked. You could scan it, and it worked. Great advertisement, really great use. Yeah, those are not swarms. That's the next phase for us, as we can see, we see that 1 to many drone pilot capability with real true swarm autonomy technologies.
Which is where, like, maybe you've got 10 drones, right? That is controlled by one pilot. 5 go over here, 2 peel off and go that way, and 2 peel, right?
We can direct them in any way, shape, or form that we'd want, so that we can have them go look at, protect assets, check out a possible target. So there's many things that we can do with the one pilot, many drones, autonomy, and swarm capability. So that's a big focus for us right now. And it's a great feature set that's probably game changing in the industry. So you're going to be hearing a little bit more detail.
Is that something that is proprietary to you guys?
We're going to talk about this a little bit more in about a month and a half.
All right, I got it. All right, so let's back up a little bit. So you've increased the production capacity. You have the chipsets. You positioned yourself well in terms of inventory, and your balance sheet is probably one of the strongest balance sheets out there.
Yes.
In this industry, right?
Absolutely.
How much? I mean, what kind of debt are you sitting on, Jeff?
Debt? It's not even worth talking. We got rid of most of our debt. I think it's close to zero.
Right, close to zero.
And we have 56 million in the bank. And we got a bunch of chipsets to go forward that'll start generating pretty significant revenues, we believe. So you'll see a little bit more of this burn that we've had in the short term, but that's going to drop pretty quickly, because we basically have been supporting Teal drones fully loaded. And actually, as we mentioned on the call last night, that we've doubled our headcount there to be able to meet these needs. So we've got all the costs right now of teal drones without the revenue.
Without the revenues, right?
So you're going to see that, that burn, but we hope for that to quickly dive down.
But that burn was even okay. So I think it was 4 million, right? That's
that actually had some CapEx in there. I think that the actual was 2.5.
It was. I'm sorry. It was 4.5.
No, I think it was 2. I'm sorry. We got construction on the back here.
Yeah.
I think that includes some CapEx. I could be wrong. I'm getting so confused from this fire hose we've been drinking out of. But the burn is not significant right now, and it's
right. The CapEx. So you doubled the capacity of the manufacturing facility, right? So, I mean, these even if it was 4.5, that's nothing, right? I mean, you guys are sitting on 56 million in cash. You're good for many quarters, right?
Yeah, actually, if you listen to, the actual true number is 2 point something for burn.
Okay.
If you listen to our CFO last night, he did a kind of a drill. We have 56 million in the bank. Our burn was 2 point something. Guess how many quarters we have? And that is, again, just to reemphasize, we have a fully loaded cost structure right now with teal, and we have zero of the revenue yet. Like for instance, Fat Shark, when we bought them, was profitable. Rotor Riot, as we mentioned last night, is doing a good little job here, and they're just about break even. Skypersonics starting to come to its own and maturing as a platform also. So all these, the second half of this year could be pretty exciting for these companies. Everyone's poised and ready and doing the work. We're keeping an eye on our finances. We don't need to go to the market. When we announced the tranche 2 deal with SRR, we traded like almost 60 million shares in one day. I don't know how many investment bankers called us to raise money that night, and we were just like, no, thank you.
You know what? That is so funny that you said that, because I'm sure they saw this, this small cap company is having a big, and that's typically the deal, right? I mean, it's usually an underfinanced company that got some kind of fluff news that spiked the stock, and that's the opportunity to do a cap raise, right? I mean, so you don't need to do a cap raise, but it's funny that your phone was ringing off the hook.
When we still have some of the retail haters out there, because we did do an over the weekend deal at $4.50 right before the market started to crumble from microcap, because we only raised 16 when we went public onto the NASDAQ. So our game plan was to get more money to build this manufacturing capability. So I want to be cautious, because earlier in that week, we were at like $2 and something cents, I forget. And someone asked if we needed money at that point in time. And I was like, we're not raising money down here. And then our stock shot to it was $7 by Friday night. The VWAP for the week was $4.90 after we had some great news with teal. And then we raised money over the weekend, and everyone freaked out and said we're liars and we're.
It was the right thing to do. I mean, come on.
Yeah, no, it was a great raise. It was a smart move with our team. It was a team decision. We are so glad that we don't have to work. We're not even thinking about the capital markets right now. We're just heads down, build production, get as many drones made at high quality as we can, and our stock price is going to do just fine.
If you hadn't done that, you wouldn't be doubling the capacity. You wouldn't have had all the chipsets. I mean, look, it was a smart move, right? Ahead of the small cap, micro cap space has been getting pounded for 10 months. Yeah, and it's not company specific in a lot of cases. And if you get that opportunity, it would have been foolish to me if you didn't do the race, right? I mean,
no, absolutely. I mean, people don't typically do any due diligence. We usually do a small discount to the market when you're in the microcap world. That's what it is. We didn't do any warrants. We've never done warrants. So clean cap table, we won't do warrants because that means they're just going to sell their position and keep their warrants. So we didn't do that, but the VWAP for that week was literally $4 and I think 90 cents or 70 cents. And the VWAP before that was in the low twos, and we raised money at $4.50 to secure the company's finance going forward. So we think it was a great raise. It was a lot of hard work to get it done over that weekend. And then the Dow crashed 1,000 points that Monday. I was like, whew.
Good job. High five. Right?
Yeah. I was like, all right, let's go build a business.
All right. For those that don't know, by the way, the VWAP is the volume weighted average price, just in case you weren't exactly certain what the VWAP was. That is what the VWAP is. And that's what it was. The average was trading at. So it was a good raise. It was a clean raise, no warrants, no preferreds, right?
No preferred,
no
all common. Straight up common.
That's a clean raise. Nobody should be bitching about that. I mean, except the guy that bought it at 7 on the spike, and that's his bad because he was chasing the stock. Right?
It was $7 for approximately 10 minutes on Friday afternoon.
Right. That guy.
Everybody thought we should raise money at $7.
That guy that bought it at 7, I feel sorry for him, but you shouldn't be in the markets. I mean, that's just the way it is. So, all right. So, look, I was looking at the quote that you had in the transcript of the conference call about, you're not just talking about yourself, you're talking about anybody that's making drones that aren't Chinese made are going to sell their drones because the demand is that high.
Yes, absolutely.
And
it's going to be industry wide. Everyone's, and there's not many of us that can actually make drones. So we think that, and we're just the same. We mentioned this a few times already, so I won't beat it to death, but the demand's there. We're just ramping production. Our focus is ramping production, and getting ready. One of these POs is going to drop, and we're trying to get ready for it.
And that's. I mean, look, these are a big order. You're talking about countries that are calling you. That's not counting the tranche. I mean, if you get the tranche 2, right? That's a longer term, more steady revenue over time, right? And then you've got these other potentially big orders that could drop any minute, right?
It's so there's the way I look at the we're here to build a long-term business, but people get frustrated with microcap companies if they're not growing gazillion % per week, just to exaggerate the point. But I think tranche 2 SRR, the whole SRR program is a long-term, high-quality customer contract that we just received that puts us in the front row to get tranche 2 production. That's still long-term revenue. That's probably 12 months plus out. I don't even want to put numbers on government contracts on months out because you never know what's going to happen. In the meantime, but not only for Ukraine, but some of the other demand stuff that we've been seeing. So we look at all federal dollars in the U.S. before Ukraine. Florida just banned all Chinese drones, and all the sheriff's departments. We had, I think within the first week, we had 30-something sheriff's departments from their counties contact us to buy Golden Eagles because their Chinese drones are being grounded in Florida. We expect that to happen in other states. But, frankly, it's the way we are right now. It's the short-term revenue is going to come from states, first responders, everyone replacing their Chinese drones. If you look at the $90 million contract we received from the Border Patrol in January, that also spiked our stock, and then it came back down because people looked at it and said, wow, this is just an IDIQ contract. They might not spend one single dollar. They're not required to, which is absolutely true. But if you did some research, one of the bills that's coming out of the House did 3 things. Says you can't renew any Chinese drone contracts. You can't buy any new Chinese drones or parts. And 3, you have to start grounding your Chinese drones this year. So some of these, departments have thousands of drones that are going to get grounded and going to need replacement with a U.S. manufacturer.
It kind of pisses me off right now that we would even be using Chinese drones for border patrol. I mean, that to me does not make any freaking sense, but
it does. Well, they've actually, this is one of the first things that's really bipartisan, by the way. Everyone realizes we shouldn't have drones 3D mapping and videoing our entire United States and sending it back to China.
Right.
Everyone agrees on that. So that's the good news. So we don't have to have any political wars over Chinese drones. Everyone agrees. All of these bills, there's 3 different bills. They're all, I don't know if they're going to be commodities. 1 from the House, 2 from the Senate, I think. But everyone agrees no Chinese drones anymore. So you have, and Florida used the Blue SUAS group, which is us and 4 other drone companies, to say these are the companies you can buy from. And then, the Border Patrol contract, they had to approve our press release, and they made us put in a line. The only thing they added was there'd be up to 5 companies that could get this $90 million. And I don't think I've seen another company get a contract yet. So we think that the $90 million Border Patrol contract is an actual, a real significant, demand that we think will come to fruition. That's our guess, knowing our due diligence, and after going in demo, we've demoed for the Border Patrol. I think they brought other departments. So we're continuing. Within a month of getting the contract, we were there demoing the bird again. So things are moving along. There's like we said last night, every bird that gets built right now is going to get bought.
Right. No, I mean, you guys are positioned so well. It's almost, I mean, this is your time right now. And in my mind, this is your moment, right? And if you execute this, what I've been waiting for in the entire industry is that clear leader, right? And I have not found it in my mind until now. I mean, you guys are positioned so well, and whether it was luck or whether it was the genius that's sitting next to you that isn't on the screen. But you guys have planned and executed well and you put yourselves here, right?
Yeah, I think sometimes things are just luck, and I don't like to be calling it like a war in Ukraine luck, but we saw the opportunity in putting together some of the best talent under one umbrella, under the RCAT Holdings, I think is great. There's more to come.
Yeah, I was going to ask, are you still kind of, putting feelers out in the?
Yeah, as we've said publicly many times before, now that we have 2 really great hardware platforms, it's now time to layer on our software layer, which is much higher margins. But there was no large platform for software to actually ramp your software sales, because everyone was depending on DJI drones, which is 90% of the market. So some of the people that have been layering all of their software services on the DJI market are now realizing their biggest customers are going to have to convert to a US made drone. So we are, there's a lot of great companies we've been talking to on the software side. I can't predict, any acquisitions, but we're talking to all the right players, some really smart software companies that would be great additions to our platform. So,
is there a software companies, I'm just asking out, but like reoccurring revenue model, like, subscription, SaaS type subscription software program?
Yeah. So my original business model here was a SaaS software business. I've talked to every software company in the drone space. Maybe I've missed a few that are just brand new, but no one really had any significant revenue or any significant revenue ramp on the software side. So we kind of backed up and said, wait, what's going on here? Well, one is DJI doesn't typically release their SDK for 1 year after a drone launch. So they get the advantage of 1 year ahead of every other software company for that. So the companies that do build on top of the DJI Chinese platform have to wait a year, let them get a huge head start, and then they can develop software for that new drone that comes out of DJI. So that's really hampered a lot of the software sales, and they really kind of controlled all of that. So now that there's the, now that China, like what they did to Amazon, they kicked Amazon out and put Alibaba in there.
Right.
So, me and Dr. Evans here right next to me have been, we talk about this all the time, is that this is a once in a lifetime opportunity. The US is throwing out a Chinese company and saying, we want to build our own Alibaba, or we want to build US manufacturing again. And we were able to get some of these companies right after the VCs grew up on drones. The VCs loved drones 6 years ago. And then China came in and kicked their asses, and almost all US manufacturing disappeared and got crushed. So now we're kind of in this new cycle where now they're thrown out, but the VCs that, we would never have gotten Teal if this whole thing happened a year and a half, 2 years earlier than it did happen. So we're now greatly set up for this. We again, there's some of the luck that you were just mentioning it, but this is a once in a lifetime thing where in an industry, the leader who created the industry got everyone in, every time you go to the beach and you see that drone flying around, that's a Chinese DJI drone. So they created the industry. They actually make great drones. They're easy to fly. They're fun. They have great cameras, which is kind of the bad thing because they can, monitor our entire country. But they created this industry, and now their largest market, which is the United States and then Germany, then France, they've just been thrown out of on the federal dollar side, and now they're getting thrown out on the state side. So we are literally, one of the only games in town.
Right. No, it's so awesome. And the software component of it is, that's a huge opportunity in my mind, right?
Yeah, we look at when Cisco first came out and built, we used to call it, they build iron. They sold you boxes that are made out of iron. So they're an iron seller. And then they realized, hey, we prefer monthly recurring revenue. So they started putting services once they were 75% of the market of routing with just dumb boxes. Then they started putting services on top of that. It's kind of the same thing. We've got to get the Teal platform out there across all these federal locations. And now it looks like it's going to be across a lot of NATO nations. As I just mentioned, that people got to realize, not only is there going to be a bunch of drones going to Ukraine, but all the countries around there are also upping their budgets, and they're going to want drones also. But to go back to the software platform, once we have this hardware platform out there, which, for hardware, we're at about a 40% margin with the Teal drone. It's not a bad margin, but when you start layering software services on that, you're going to see significant margin expansion.
Yeah. That's the beauty of SaaS.
Yep.
That's what I love about reoccurring revenue model, because the margins are typically 80s, 90s, right?
Yep.
That's where it gets really exciting, and
Absolutely.
It's very predictable income. So, so there was one thing I wanted to talk about, because I did go through the earnings call. So Fat Shark, which is, and you made a great example. Nobody wants to buy an Apple iPhone in August when they got a new one coming out in September.
Yep.
And Fat Shark is kind of going through that right now, right? They're end of the life cycle for one product category, and they're coming out with a new one soon. It's going to have some pretty exciting features, right?
Yep.
So that's normal, right?
Absolutely.
On the consumer side.
Yep.
Right.
And so that was our first quarter since we closed on Fat Shark that didn't have much Fat Shark revenue in it. I don't want to ruin a product launch, so I'm just going to leave it at that. We're not unhappy with Fat Shark. We're just at the end of a product cycle.
And that makes sense, right? It totally makes sense to me, which is actually, to me, is an exciting thing, because if you've got a new product coming out, whenever it comes out, and it's got new features, that's a great thing, right?
Yeah. So, the other key item, and it's not just, we're starting to see all the hard work that all the teams did in each subsidiary have to give them some mature operating expertise, all the things that the teams had to do to get their companies kind of just little bit better organized as going from startup to being part of a public vehicle. And they've all done a great job. But we're at, we're probably about 1 quarter away of almost all of the companies contributing. We've never had that. We've typically had most of the revenue comes from Fat Shark. Rotor-Riot was starting to ramp, and we had just bought Skypersonic. They're kind of like 9 months behind Teal, maybe even more on product maturity, but they're ramping quickly because actually there's a great video we put out for RCAT Holdings. We just had to put all the companies under one roof in January. And we really saw there was a lot more overlap between all the companies. And I think Skypersonic's going to be able to mature quicker with the experts from the Teal team. So
they're all working together. Your engineers and everybody are all, I mean, you're collaborating, right?
There's some overlap and some collaboration, not as much as we'd want long-term, because we're so laser focused on keeping Teal focused on the production line.
Right.
And now that we did get SRR2, we have a new prototype to build for the Army. But just being able to ping the experts from a company that does know manufacturing. Teal's got a great team of guys that have done manufacturing before. So I think the Skypersonic platform will mature a little quicker than it would just by itself. So my main point is that if you look, about a quarter out, one more quarter out, we're going to have like Q3 calendar. You're going to start to see the ramp that everyone wants to see in a fast moving, high growth company like ours. So we're setting ourselves up for that, for long-term steady revenue. And we've never had all 4 companies contribute. Oh, sorry. So we think that it's going to be a pretty exciting second half of this calendar year. I mean, really exciting.
And the fact that, look, the fact that you have cash and that the micro cap, small cap space has been getting pounded for 10 months, I would say this is a really good time for those companies that maybe 10 months ago thought that they could sell at a multiple of, some ridiculous multiple. Maybe they're having a call to Jesus, a moment where wait a minute, maybe we're not quite as richly valued as we thought we were, right? So this is actually a really good time to be looking at acquisitions.
Yeah, I've because I've been in my own businesses since '94, but I've gone through .com crashes, I've gone through 9/11, I went through the Great Recession. So people my age are pretty battle, gone through a lot of battles, and if you could succeed during all of those events. And so not that I want a recession or a downturn, but they're the best time to build businesses. So valuations, the problem is our valuation, kind of became kind of the pinnacle for a lot of these companies. They're looking at our valuation and want our type of multiples, which is we're like, 50% of all the NASDAQ stocks are 50% down right now. I think it's the stat you keep hearing on like CNBC. So everyone's valuations have come down. But we are well positioned with cash. We are already public. The public markets are kind of shut down right now. So we think that will help us with future acquisitions that we're looking at.
Right. And you've got, it doesn't have to be a cash deal. It can be it can be a stock deal, right?
Oh yeah. If everyone's if their valuation goes down as much as the market has gone down, it's still relative, so that we're not diluting our shareholders, which I am the largest shareholder at RCAT.
That's fantastic. All right. So I don't really need to go into the, we already talked about the fact that you don't have any warrants, you don't have any preferreds, you've got insider participation, right? Yep. A lot of insiders that are holding shares. I think how many shares are
53.8? I think it is 53.8.
53.8, and only and there's like what, 30 something in the float right now?
I think around 32 in the float.
Yeah, 32 in the float. So all right, let's really quickly just kind of talk about the chart. Now, that spike that you had, I have to tell you, I was actually kind of dumbfounded, because typically when you get a pop like you got, I mean, the volume was insane, right? Almost 60 million shares, which is the largest volume trading day. I don't know what this was back here.
Yeah, we've had some really crazy. We did 230 million shares.
Yeah, I saw that. I was like,
turn one. Yeah, it's, the good news is, people know who we are now, even though, we're still kind of under the radar. But our ticker has been across CNBC all morning long, a few different days. So it's from, high volume pre-market. So
what I was surprised about is that it didn't have, because it was number one, it was a good press release, right? I mean, it wasn't fluff. It was like, look, we're down. I didn't know, in the press release, did you mention the fact that it was down to just 2 players?
No, we didn't know that until we had the kickoff meeting with them for the contract, and they told us.
Yeah, because I think, and maybe that's why, because when you look at the press release and you say, okay, they got, they're in a handful, maybe 5 companies. That's what I was thinking, is you're in a handful of 5 companies that are, so your chance is 1 in 5, right? Yeah. So maybe that's why the stock didn't get the follow through. But then when I heard you're down to 2 companies, I mean, like you said, that's a 50-50 chance, right? That's just pretty good odds.
Yeah. So it's, when we went back in September 14th to fly the bird for them for the SRR tranche 2 demonstration, they told us there was only going to be 2 companies selected for this round, but they've said that before, and it ends up being 4 or 5. So we were like, okay, we thought it would be 4 or 5 again also for this, and then they told us no, there's only 2. So we're ecstatic about that, and there was over 30 companies that demonstrated for that tranche 2 award. So I'm very proud of the teal team to present a good vehicle, and again, yeah, we're down to 1 of 2.
No, so let me tell you what I see in the chart here, right? So
yeah, I'm not a chart guy. I mean,
I know you're not.
Where I want to watch.
I know you're not. So here's the deal. You've kind of established this 150 area is an area of support. That's what the technical guys are going to look at. And I'm going back over here into 2020. You can go all the way back over here into 2019. You can see this is actually an area where it held as support, right? So that's kind of where you're at right now. And technical guys are going to look at that and see this as a big area of support. You have what's called a double bottom here. You came down, you tested it, you actually pierced it, but then you closed the day above it. Then you came back down, you tested it again. That's a double bottom test, and it held. Now you just broke above. This is the 200-day moving average. That's this white line. When you broke and you closed above that, that's why I was surprised that the following day it did not get a follow-through day, because a lot of times when you take out a 200-day moving average, there's a 2-3 day run where that happens, right? And it didn't happen on this. And I figured maybe it might be because of the headline. I mean, it was a great headline, but there was, okay, well, how many people are in this thing? Now we know it's 2. And then the earnings came out last night. And of course, the way they write up the headlines on some of these jackasses, you missed earnings, or,
absolutely.
Expenses were higher than expected, whatever, which, to me, if you find out why the expenses were higher, you doubled the capacity and you've got 4,000 chipsets. Well, those are good things, right? That puts you in a very good position when you have demand that is rising at a rapid rate. So I think this pullback, if you notice, the volume was huge here. The next day was The next day, if you look at the volume is it's tapering off, which tells me there's no conviction from the people that are selling their shares right now, right? This is not a high conviction sell. These are guys that, are probably day trading or don't know what the hell they're doing. They were expecting it to go 2-3 day run. It's not happening. So they're getting out, right? Good. Get rid of them. 50-day moving average is right here, right? And you're coming down to, which is a round number. Round numbers in the stock market, for some reason, are a psychological thing for people, right? It's like you break over a round number and it's like, oh, we're off to the races. And if you break below a round number, because people just want to say it's, oh, it's over $2, right? I mean, so that has a psychological effect. You're tapering volume. People don't understand the earnings. That's why I think it's pulling back today. In my mind, it's creating an opportunity. If it pulls back to $2 or $1.95, this blue line is actually the 50-day. That's the simple moving average. But that's an opportunity in my mind to add. I am a shareholder, by the way. I bought shares right after we met. I didn't buy a ton of shares. I bought a starter position, and I happened to buy it at $1.86. And the next day, the day it filled, the $1.86, the news came out and the thing went to whatever, right?
Yeah.
So, but it was a temporary, I mean, look, it's a starter. I wanted to do the interview with you and get more color and really get a good feel for the company. And look, I love this story. I think it's positioned well. I don't think a lot of people know about the story. And that is the whole reason we're doing the interview today, right? And what I'd really love to do is over the next couple of months, you know, if you have some developments, have you come back. It won't be as long of an interview, but just do maybe an update.
Sure.
But I'm not telling anybody to buy the stock. It's not what I do. I'm not a financial advisor. However, I would absolutely put RCAT on your radar and keep an eye on this thing. If not, take a starter position and, build into this thing, because I think you've got some significant catalysts on the horizon, and you've got great opportunity in multiple areas for acquisitions. You're just positioned extremely well.
I think we're hugely undervalued at this point. And I would tell everyone to buy this stock. It's that's what I'm supposed to do.
No, I mean, so do you, the employees, do you, and I'm talking across all the way across the board. Do you guys do?
Yeah, we just, when you're buying companies, they always had their previous options plan. We just redid and got everyone some new options. So everyone's excited about where the company goes from here.
See, and that's the beautiful thing right there, right? I mean, you get everybody's on the team, and they're all pulling for the same thing, right? I love it, Jeff. Thank you so much for coming in. Unless there's something that you feel as though I have missed, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up, and then we'll do a follow-up down the road.
Oh yeah, stay tuned. I think we'll be back soon.
Okay, man. All right, thanks, Jeff. Hold on one second. I'm gonna go ahead and stop the recording. Hey there, all you stock market junkies. Thanks for tuning in to yet another CEO interview here at Alpha Wolf Trading. Today we had RCAT Holdings CEO and founder Jeff Thompson. Ticker symbol RCAT, traded on the NASDAQ. If you like today's video, do us a favor, give us a like. How about giving us a share? And while you're at it, why not give us a follow? Until next time, stay safe. Alpha Wolf Trading wishes you the very best of success.